to close in now at the bottom of the keyhole on those fresher reds. Sebastian Bourdais stalking in on Ryan Hunter-Reay. Hunter-Reay trying to hold him up through 3.
Leaders at the start-finish line, or I should say the starting line. It's a side-by-side drag race. Hunter-Reay to the inside, the high side, it's Sebastian Bourdais. Bourdais will grab the spot into turn number 4.
Joseph Newgarden hits his marks, although there is already, the jack came down. This is going to be a costly stop for Joseph Newgarden.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Yeah, we're getting ready for Graham Rahal, guys. We've got a bunch of them coming in right here. The big key right now getting in and out because, as you said, those guys that came in earlier were able to pick up a bunch of positions. As we get the leaders going by us right now, we'll send it down to Nick Yeoman in a second as Will Power gets set to come right in. Graham Rahal diving into his pits right now. He goes from red to a fresh set of blacks. Looks like a good stop for Rahal. Let's go down to Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, it's Will Power who gave up the lead. He was lead first off of pit lane. Ryan Hunter-Reay a second. Well, right at pit exit, Marco Andretti drove up the racetrack right into the side of Sebastian Bourdais. There is debris littered all over pit exit. Sebastian Bourdais upset.
Back to green flag racing, side by side across the start finish line. Jake Prix, they head to you in 1.
Alex Tagliani had a podium here in 2006, but right now he's going to lose the lead to Ryan Briscoe. Briscoe to the inside of the 77 through 1.
Holy cow, baby. Everybody attacking as Ryan Briscoe makes the move underneath, but we've got 10, 12 cars right there in the bunch. Ryan Hunter-Reay grabs P2 from Alex Tagliani. He got to the inside coming down Seaside Way, climbed on the binders a little later. And how about turn number 1, Jake Query?
Will Power has moved past Alex Tagliani, so Will Power now sets his sights. Ryan Briscoe, though, building himself a healthy lead out front.
The Verizon IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio. IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Let's pick him up, boys, in the backstretch. Bernie Herman, you should be seeing him about now.
We're waiting for the quiet, unassuming Jim Rathbun. Again, ball special. And here he comes now on car number 4. Bias goes Jim Rathbun. Okay, Sid.
Pick up Blue Palmer in the northeast turn and follow it around, boys.
We've got him. The crowd knows Rathbun's coming by and he's got no competition. 2 more turns. He's made one of them. There's only 1 turn remaining. Number 4 for Jim Rathbun goes into the short chute now. Here comes Roger Ward at the moment over to Jim Shelton.
All right, Jim Rathbun just kind of taking it easy here. Boy, I don't know what happened. Roger Ward is really biting fingernails if he could. Here he comes now. He's dropping back considerably. Okay.
Here's the checkered flag for Jim Rathbun, the winner of the 44th annual 500-mile race.
Stay tuned for more on IndyCar Radio.
Sam Hornish Jr. trying to get the advantage on Herta. They are dead even. Now Hornish starts to pull in front. They set up for turn number 4. Mike, who's going to win it? It's a near carbon copy of last year's race. Herta will go to the high side and 3 wide. The line, it will be Sam Hornish Jr.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
About 4 seconds is the lead time that he has. Can it hang together for another couple of miles? Oh, this is going to be a great finish for Jacques Villeneuve into the number 2 turn.
And Villeneuve smoothly through 2, well off the wall, keeping a fine line down the back straightaway. Larry Henry.
Jacques Villeneuve bringing it down the back straightaway. No traffic in front of him. Plainly down to the white line. The crowd on their feet cheering Jacques Villeneuve. 1 more turn to go.
Jacques Villeneuve's crew, they won the pit stop competition, but this is even better. Through 4 smoothly. victory. Jacques Villeneuve heads to the checkered flag, and here's Bob Jenkins.
The checkered flag is waving, and Jacques Villeneuve wins the 1995 Indianapolis 500. The youngest driver in the field at 24 years of age has won at Indianapolis.
The Verizon IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio. From the streets of Long Beach, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Maybe your Sunday's not off to a very good start. Let's try to bring a smile to your face with a phrase. It's race day at Long Beach. Hello, everyone, for the 43rd time. The Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, ready to be contested. Gorgeous morning to start off. Happy to be joined in the broadcast booth by Nick Yeoman and a familiar face, Nick. Top timing and scoring after Firestone Fast 6 and knockout qualifying yesterday.
Happy race day, Mark Janes. Happy to be with you here in the booth as we're set to go for the final 30-minute warm-up session for the Verizon IndyCar Series. And you mentioned Helio Castroneves for the third straight year comes to Long Beach and puts on a show in Verizon P1 qualifying, breaks the track record. We saw a ton of guys break the track record yesterday, but Helio grabs his third straight pole here at Long Beach. Scott Dixon grabs second, so we've got two very, very experienced drivers on the front row. 5 Hondas in the Firestone Fast 6, Mark, but is that bow tie of Helio Castroneves? He'll lead them to the green later today.
Got a couple of pit reporters kind of minding things down there. One of them happy to have with us this weekend, Zach Veach. And again, congratulations, Zach. His ride, the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500, announced this weekend with A.J. Foyt Racing. But, Zach, we're going to ask you to keep that driver's hat on for just a couple of minutes here and share with us what the mindset is for these teams and drivers in this final 30-minute warm-up session. What's the checklist look like?
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me, guys, here. This morning it's just really important to, main thing is not to tear anything up because it is race day. It's not a lot of turnaround time for the race, but, for the guys that we find at the front end of the field, they're just going out to check systems, maybe doing minor tweaks overnight, but really just get back in the sway of things for this race this afternoon. But guys towards the back of the field, they're going to use this session to try to get those last big changes in to see if they can get the race car to the point where they're happy with it, because a lot of guys kind of struggled at the end of the qualifying sessions yesterday.
One of the guys that's got his work cut out for him, the defending series champion, Simon Pagenaud. Interesting series of events unfolding yesterday, Nick. He'll roll off 21st today.
Yeah, Simon Pagenaud was one of the drivers in that stacked Round 1 Group 2 yesterday, and in the course of trying to spread out on the racetrack, Simon felt like Will Power didn't give him a lot of room, so Simon backed up his pace and got in the way of Helio Castroneves in the Turn 11 hairpin, and was thus handed down, slapped with an interference penalty, lost his 2 fastest laps, and because of that, Simon Pagenaud did not get out of Round 1. He'll start 21st, shotgun, dead last on the field, Mark, and the thing is, we've seen drivers come from last. We saw it just a few weeks ago when Sebastian Bourdais, his fellow countryman, did it, but boy, Simon Pagenaud's work is cut out for him today in that Menard Chevrolet.
If it seems strange for him to be back there, Nick, it is, in fact. 103 starts now in his career. Only 6 times has he started 20th or worse. 6 times in 103 starts.
It's amazing. He is a very good qualifier as he heads back onto the racetrack around turn number 1 and towards the fountain. But yeah, he was the series champion a year ago for a reason. Just didn't make a lot of mistakes. Yesterday, you can consider that a mistake, and he certainly paid for it, and certainly going to have to use some strategy. And that's going to be interesting, Mark. Talk to some guys in the paddock. We think that pit window might open up around 4 or 5 laps into this race. So the options are there for Kyle Moyer and Team Penske if they want to take advantage of it.
Well, as Dale Coyne is in the habit of doing, wasn't it, in fact, pit strategy, pure and simple, that led to the win for Sebastian Bourdais at St. Pete?
Yeah, I mean, they caught a caution perfectly because they pitted early, were able to cycle up front, and then Bourdais used that pace to get up front and lead some laps and ultimately win that race.
98 machine of Alexander Rossi found a runoff area. He's trying to get it restarted. We'll see if he can do that or not in what has become a tricky and troublesome turn number 8. Well, as we mentioned, we're off to a gorgeous start here in Southern California, as we always are. Let's get more on conditions this morning by checking in with Dave first.
If I just left it to calling it perfect, would that work for you, Mark?
Sure,
James?
Absolutely.
It is awesome down here. Good morning down here on pit road. The streets of Long Beach are ready to go as practice continues down here. That is the sound of Joseph Newgarden as Team Penske leaves no stone unturned. They're practicing hot pit stops down here, as is Tony Kanata, the number 10. We saw Scott Dixon down here as well, Max Chilton, Ryan Hunter-Reay. As for the conditions, 58 degrees air temperature, track temperature way down as well, just 67 degrees, humidity level at 71%. The wind has calmed down dramatically from what we saw yesterday. Yesterday we had gusts upwards of 10, 12, 15 miles an hour. Just an easy 3-mile-an-hour gusts from the Pacific Ocean today. It's a gorgeous morning. Way to start things off on race day here at Long Beach.
So, Nick Yeoman, we talk about the signature portions of this course, of course, around the fountain, the hairpin, the significance of the hairpin in terms of its layout, but also very, very important to these cars and drivers, because if you're fast and smooth through there, you've got a long front straightaway that's very forgiving. But in the time that we have been coming here, Turn 1 is as interesting here as it is anywhere in the Verizon IndyCar series.
It's a great place to pass. It's also a great place to throw away your entire afternoon if you miss it and miss your breaking point as J.R. Hildebrand slides out of that turn 11 hairpin and gets passed by James Hinchcliffe. But you're right. It's one of the great passing points of the racetrack in turn number 1. It is a 90-degree left-hand turn, and as you mentioned, this long straightaway that leads down into that turn number 1. You see the RPMs, the speed pickup. That's where all the grandstands are located. It's you get some cool camera shots overhead. It's a great portion of this racetrack. And turn 1, lap 1, Mark, is always awful interesting here at Long Beach.
26 machine of Takuma Sato is in turn 8, and while he hasn't been out here in a Verizon IndyCar Series car, he has taken plenty of laps this weekend in the two-seater. Zach Veets, why are we seeing issues among so many drivers in turn number 8 here at Long Beach? Any thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to just track conditions. You know, we have been struggling putting down Firestone rubber down there all weekend with the drifters constantly covering it up. But you got to think, guys, it's still pretty early here. The sun's just starting to get high over the ocean here. So track temp's going to keep rising, and the cars are just going to get more and more comfortable as we get to the end of the session, because the guys that were really happy with the race cars in qualifying yesterday, that was in the heat of the day, and that's when they're going to be racing this afternoon. So this morning, I think it's just a great time for the fast guys just to practice live pit stops, as we see J.R. Hildebrand and Joseph Newgarden doing. But for, the guys that find themselves, like I said earlier, we see guys like Connor Daly who have been working to get up to speed. He hasn't practiced any pit stops yet because I think they're still trying to figure out what to change on their race car.
Alexander Rossi among the good stories after qualifying yesterday. He made the Fast 6. He will roll off on the inside of row number 3. And following qualifying yesterday, our day first caught up with the defending Indy 500 winner.
This is becoming a big weekend for Andretti Autosport, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that we came back to a track that's historically been so strong for them, and after last year being probably our worst weekend, to come back and get 2 cars in the Fast 6 and get 3 cars in the top 12 it's really a strong turnaround for them.
Are you disappointed you didn't win pole? You guys are that good, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're always disappointed when you're not, but for me, it's my first top 6 appearance. The Napa Auto Parts car has been good all weekend, like you said, and I think we never exploited our potential in practice, so it's nice to put it all together, mostly together for qualifying. And yeah, I think we missed probably a couple of spots there, but I don't think we had the car for pole with the tire situation.
Nice to compete, huh? It's fun.
It's really nice to compete. Smile on my face today, and I look forward to rolling off tomorrow and actually fighting for a podium.
He flirted with a top 10 at St. Petersburg in the season opener before settling for 11th. I think his foreseeable future is settled now. What I like is how active he is on social media, out and about in the public eye, and I think that now that he is comfortable with the race team and comfortable with the series, he's going to start going back to tracks that he now has a year's experience under his belt. Look out. We have another week-in, week-out contender in Alexander Rossi.
Well, yeah, despite his Formula One experience, he was a pure rookie in the IndyCar series in the sense that none of these tracks, for the most part, he had ever been to and raced on with a lot of these drivers coming through the Mazda Road to Indy. So there was a lot of learning for Alexander Rossi last year. Of course, headlined by the win in the 100th Indianapolis 500. That was really one of the only big results that he had all of last year.
Looking into 2017, though, it looks like he's poised for a breakout year. As you mentioned, solid race at St. Petersburg, making his first Firestone Fast 6 yesterday. And I think he's going to be an interesting guy to watch from Northern California. Admitted that this would still be a big win if he could pick up a win here in Southern California. Alexander Rossi, awful impressive inside and outside the car, Mark.
This track just tick under 2 miles in length, 1.968 to be specific. 11 turns will run 85 laps this afternoon. That translates into 167.28 miles. If you're wondering if you're the gearhead type, push the pedal.
I got to race at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. So for us young guys, this was one of the biggest crowds that we raced in front of, and I was lucky enough to get my first street course pole here. And this is one of those places that if you do well, people always remember it. So I'm really hoping we can find Indy Lights back here in the future, because as a young driver, there's not too many places that give you goosebump feels like Long Beach and like Indy. So the schedule is definitely missing out on a great race here at Long Beach.
Nick, those NTT data drivers working in tandem during this session, TK and Scott Dixon have been hooked up for a couple of laps now.
Yeah, it's been very varying weekends for those two drivers. Scott Dixon has been flawless at the top of the charts for most of the practice sessions this weekend, and then put his car in the Firestone Fast 6. For Tony Kanaan, it's been a little bit more of an adventure. He's shown some speed and showed it in qualifying, making it in around number 2, but he dealt with some electrical issues yesterday that made him force him to miss most of practice number 2. But as you mentioned, those twin blue NTT Data Hondas for Ganassi Racing heading down to turn number 6. Both look pretty fast this weekend. Both going to be pretty racy for the win later today.
Yeah, that almost looks like race conditions in a couple of instances. I mean, just in front of them, we got the 20 of Spencer Pigot, who's towing Helio Castroneves around, but tucked just in behind those NTT data machines was Ryan Hunter-Ray. We also see Simon Pagenaud and J.R. Hildebrand playing around with those guys a little bit.
Yeah, I've watched Ryan Hunter-Ray. He's been a little racy, making some moves around this race course, and if anyone is going to take it easy during warm-up, I thought it would be Ryan Hunter-Ray after the St. Petersburg weekend where he tore up a race car. But as you mentioned, Helio Castroneves trying to run down Spencer Pigot through that fountain portion of the racetrack. Again, Helio Castroneves, the veteran, going to lead him to the green later today, Mark.
He had a disastrous season last year, Ryan Hunter-Ray did. Probably no one more anxious to put it behind him and get to 2017 than Ryan Hunter-Ray. He qualified 4th yesterday, Nick, qualified for the inside of row number 2, we should say. Qualified 3rd. He was 3rd quick after Firestone Fast 6 qualifying. He finished 4th at St. Petersburg, so a solid start to the campaign for Ryan Hunter-Ray.
Yeah, I know he was really ready to put 2016 behind him. Obviously, the Honda struggles put that Andretti Autosport camp behind the 8 ball to begin the year. And then, Mark, as they continued to get better and worked on it, we went to Pocono, and Ryan Hunter-Ray put on a show. And then at the end of the race, he lost power and lost out on a win. So he was ready to put the last year behind him. And as you mentioned, a good top 5 finish, starting in the top 5 today. Former winner here in Long Beach. He considers this a special event as well. So it's going to be fun to see if Ryan Hunter-Ray can mix it up with the guys today.
Spencer Pigot, Helio Castroneves ducked to the inside of James Hinchcliffe into turn number 1. Helio backs out of it just a little bit. They'll let Pigot go. And now they accordion up around the fountain. Well, for Hinch, a good qualifying run yesterday. The outside of row number 2, respectable start to the season for Hinch. He finished 9th, but was very disappointed because the fact he led 21 laps and knows he had a much better race car than that at St. Petersburg. But nonetheless, just like Ryan Hunter-Ray, solid start to the season for James Hinchcliffe, and Zach Veach caught up with Hinch after qualifying yesterday.
Starting 4th, not a bad place. You had a little trouble at the end of practice today, so talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rebounding from a gearbox issue in practice, not getting a final run on tires there, but huge credit to the Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports guys. We made it into the Fast 6 second time in a row, and outside of row 2, not bad. I'm a little mad at myself. In Q3, we weren't quite sure what to expect. Hadn't really run red tires for a second run to know where the balance was going to go, where the grip was going to be. And I was actually on a pretty good lap, made a little bit of a mistake out of turn 5, so that might have cost us a position or 2. But, at the end of the day, you need to be up in the top 6, I think, to have a shot at winning this race. My guys are some of the best in pit lane. If we can make some moves on track, make some moves in pit lane, hopefully we can find ourselves up front.
That's James Hinchcliffe talking to our Zach Veach after qualifying yesterday. Again, Hinch will roll off on the outside of row number 2. An update from pit road with Dave First.
Yeah, ideally when you have a 30-minute session like this, just a warm-up session to get the final touches. get everything ready to go for the race later on today. Ideally, you don't really have much to work on. You throw it out there, maybe make some slight tweaks or whatnot. That is not the case, though, for the number 8 of Max Chilton. Max has been down here for a good minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes or so, as they have completely changed out the rear springs. They're also changing out some things to the front of the car as well, just changing things up. And why not? Because it's kind of been a miserable weekend for Max Chilton. Remember, he had some electrical issues during practice on Friday. Yesterday in qualifying, he qualified 20th, so he's going to start at the back of this field. Not exactly where Chip Ganassi Racing is used to seeing his machines.
13 minutes to go in this final warm-up session from the streets of Long Beach, California. For those joining us online, getting a good shot of the onboard cam with Simon Pagenaud. Carlos Munoz paces the field so far here in this warm-up session. His quick lap just got eclipsed by Scott Dixon. Simon Pagenaud jumped up to second. Munoz is third fastest. Connor Daly fourth. Takuma Sato is fifth. Rest of the top 10 sees Joseph Newgarden, Graham Rahal, Alexander Rossi, Charlie Kimball, and Will Power. 11 through 15 is Mikael Aleshin, James Hinchcliffe, Sebastian Bourdais, Spencer Pigot, Helio Castroneves. 16th is Ryan Hunter-Reay. 17th fastest J.R. Hildebrand, Max Chilton, Tony Kanaan, Marco Andretti, and rookie Ed Jones round out the 21-car field here in warm-up, Mark.
Opening comments from Zach Veach in terms of assessing this session, Nick. I think this is just what the doctor ordered for Carlos Munoz and Connor Daly. Both are in the top 5 right now, and we're about 20 minutes into this session. And, they've struggled throughout the course of this weekend. Connor will roll off on the inside of row number 9. Carlos Munoz on the outside of row 7. A.J. Foyt making the switch to Chevrolet, bringing in 2 new drivers in Daly and Munoz. And I think it's just a matter of everybody getting on the same page. And let's go back and think about what the year for Simon Pagenaud and company was like the year before they won the championship at Penske. It's just a feeling out process.
For sure. I think we're going to have to wait until the month of May to truly evaluate how those drivers do. As we'll touch a little bit more on that as we've got one car into the tire barriers in turn number 1, Mark. That is Spencer Pigot. That is the Ed Carpenter racing driver. Spencer Pigot has put it in the tires there in turn number 1 to bring out a red flag here in warm-up.
And, Nick, that is exactly what you did not want to have happen, which was the first thing on that checklist that Zach Veach shared with us. And looks like he got in it just a little too hot and climbed on the binders and was just too late.
Had James Hinchcliffe trailing him by about 2 or 3 car lengths, putting the pressure on him, wasn't making a move to pass. The good news for Spencer, Mark, is that was fairly light contact. If anything, a little damage to the front wing. I'm not sure that type of hit would be strong enough to bend any of the suspension parts, but certainly the team members, they're going to dig into that race car when they get back to the pit lane to really look at it. But not a way you want to run in this warm-up session, as Homatro safety crew has got that car spinned around, and I would think they'll get Spencer refired here momentarily to get him back to pit lane.
Yeah, looks like they're going to go ahead and try to disconnect that front wing assembly and get it in the back of the truck, and they'll get it back to the team. But that looks like pretty light damage all in all. I mean, significant enough to where it has to be changed, but it could have been much worse. I guess if you're going to get into the tire barrier, that's the manner in which that you would want to do it in order to minimize the damage. Don't tell the team owner that it's minimal damage, because that's still a pretty costly bend right there.
Good news is when we come to these street course events where things are so tight, all of these teams bring multiple replacements of front and rear wing assemblies for this very instant. It's been a pretty clean weekend, all in all. We haven't seen a lot of guys make any mistakes, which is good. As we know, in motorsports, those budgets are always so tight. The last thing we want to do is tear up any race cars. Spencer Pigot has that car refired, Mark. Without that front wing, he'll head back to pit lane, and hopefully we can get this warm-up session restarted, as we've got 9.5 minutes to go on the clock.
You want to learn a little bit more about the winner at St. Pete from a couple of weeks ago, Sebastian Bourdais? Well, Jake Query can help you with that. Jake has a little segment designed to get you a little more up close and personal with these drivers. It's called Getting to Know, and Jake talks with Sebastian Bourdais.
Sebastian Bourdais, of course, with Dale Coyne Racing. I have 25 questions. We're going to do 6 fast ones. You give me the number, you get the question that goes with it. All right? You give me a number 1 through 25.
All right. 2.
All right, number 2. The question for you is this. Would you consider yourself an adrenaline junkie? Outside of going fast in race cars, do you seek adrenaline elsewhere?
Not so much.
Okay. Give me another number.
6.
That surprises me, by the way. 6. What is your most prized possession?
Most prized possession in my family.
And obviously you have how many children?
Yeah, 2.
Okay, 2 children and, of course, married. Okay, give me another number.
11.
Number 11 for Sebastian Bourdais. Do you have siblings, brothers, sisters?
Nope.
Only child.
Yes.
Okay. And how old were you when you first started racing?
10.
Your parents were on board with that?
Well, my dad stuck me on a motorcycle. I was 3, so I guess they had to kind of go with the flow after that. My mom was a teacher, so she wasn't so thrilled about it, but I think she didn't really have a choice.
Typically, only children are spoiled, but I won't go any further than that. Okay, give me another number.
14.
Number 14 for Sebastian Bourdais. What is the first R-rated or adult-themed movie that you ever saw?
It was more the clip. I think it was Thriller.
Which one?
The clip from Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, yeah, the making of Thriller. Yeah, the zombie.
Hell out of me.
Yeah, you can do the zombie dance, I know. Okay, we got 2 left. Give me another number.
20.
Number 20 for Sebastian Bourdais. Other than races, if I were to get into your DVR and see what you have recorded that you go back and watch the most on television, movie or show, what would it be?
Anything between the Blacklist, Blind Spot, Gotham, and a couple of others.
1 number left, 1 through 25. What are you going with?
22.
I can't believe you didn't pick 18, by the way. 22. Tell me about the first time that you ever saw the Indianapolis 500.
That would have been 93.
1993. You were watching on TV. You were there. I mean, what was your impression?
Yeah, on TV. That's when the whole thing started to blow up in Europe. With Nigel and all that.
Of course, 1993. The winner was Emerson Fittipaldi. Sebastian Bourdais, Dale Coyne Racing. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Good stuff, Jay Query, Sebastian Bourdais. And if you missed that, you'll have the chance to hear it again in the not-too-distant future. Nick, a new project for you throughout the course of the season. We want to alert fans to your weekly podcast to kind of get them caught up on what they may have missed in the previous race and then preview the upcoming race.
Yeah, obviously on these race weekends, we're on the air, especially when we have the Indy Lights Series with us for 10, 11 hours throughout the course of a weekend. We get it. Hey, you're not going to be able to listen to all of our coverage, although we'd suggest you try to. Right. Because of that, we've got the brand new podcast, the IndyCar Radio Weekend Rewind. Take a look back at some of the best sound of the weekend, some of the best segments. I had a conversation with Bill Pappas on Friday where we talked about that brand new car that was released. You can hear that interview during the podcast as well. Aiming for sometime midweek, either Wednesday or Thursday. You can go to IndyCarRadio.com under the fans tab and listen to that podcast. Rob Howden actually going to have a podcast as well about the Mazda Road to Indy. No Mazda Road to Indy action this weekend. They'll be back at Barber Motorsports Park, but Rob will be talking about Indy Lights, Pro Mazda, and USF 2000. So kind of a fun new venture for IndyCar Radio, and we'll crank out a little bit more content for you throughout the week.
I'm fairly certain Rob is working somewhere today.
He's in Sonoma, actually, for a karting event, he told me.
That's right, he did. He sent me a text over the weekend, and we look forward to Rob and everyone rejoining us when we get to Barber Motorsports Park in a couple of weeks. We have about 5.5 minutes, and save for the one little issue for Spencer Pigot in turn number 1. But the stated goal, as suggested by Zach Veach, has been achieved by and large. We look at timing and scoring. We see Dixon, Pagano still P1, Munoz, Hinchcliffe, and Newgard in the top 5, Rahal, Bourdais, Daly, Sato, and Rossi the top 10. Interesting to note, a good qualifying effort for Graham Rahal. He qualified 6th for today's race, Nick, and with all of the races that he and his father has won here, it was kind of surprising when Bruce Martin pointed out that there's never been a Rahal in victory lane here at Toyota.
Especially when you consider
Long Beach,
the winner list is a who's who in motorsports. Right. I mean, it's the iconic families of the sport have all gone to victory lane here. So Graham's got a good shot today, as you mentioned. Good qualifying effort. Put it in the Firestone Fast 6. He'll start 6th today. It's going to be interesting as well, Mark, to watch Marco Andretti. He made it into the second round yesterday as well, talking about those iconic family members. He qualified 10th, so he's going to be right there in the middle of the pack. But he seems like he's got a pretty good car. Talked to him yesterday after the practice session, and he felt pretty confident that they could keep guessing and make the right choices in terms of tire selection, and we'll see if he can put that United Fiber and Data car on the podium today.
Really dejected not getting in the Fast 6. As a matter of fact, he didn't get out the first round at St. Petersburg, but, he locked the jaw on race day, and after starting 15th, he was able to pick up several positions on the opening start and on the opening lap, and he ended up finishing 7th. And you got to wonder, this so much of this is mental in terms of momentum and wanting breaks and a little bit of luck. And clearly he hasn't had the best of luck at numerous times throughout his career. But you stop and think about how he hung around the top 4, top 5 throughout most of the weekend. And lo and behold, here we go again. He's not going to move on. And then all of a sudden, the penalty for Pagenaud allows him to move on. And so maybe in the back of his mind, Marco's thinking, maybe my luck's starting to turn around a little bit.
Yeah, that was a big penalty because that was the difference between being 14th and getting a chance there in the top 12. So he improved 4 spots just by that Simon Pagenaud penalty. So, yeah, he certainly caught a nice break. And, starting 10th today, he's going to have a shot.
Well, as we mentioned, Helio Castroneves picked up pole for the 4th time in his career. Currently, he's 12th quick in this final warm-up session. But again, you're not really sure what the checklist is, and it's not of the utmost significance to be P1 after this session. But he was P1 after yesterday's qualifying, and our day first caught up with him.
Well, how about that, Mr. Long Beach?
That's what I'm talking
4
about.
poles here. Huh?
I know, 3 in a row. Yeah. Come on, mention that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 3 in a row.
Here we go. Now, let me tell you, man. AAA machine and Chevy was awesome. We were testing a lot of things, and obviously Roger made some great calls. John Doogie as well, man, and myself. To be honest, I was with my teammates, by the way, and we're learning all the time. And man, we laid down a very good one. It was awesome.
Well, the Hondas, man, they loaded up for bear against you.
I know. It's okay. Bring it on. I'm ready. But. It's all about put ourselves in a good situation, and right now this P1 it feels so good.
And now tomorrow, huh?
Well, let's celebrate now, man. Come on.
I'm sorry. What am I doing? I'm sorry.
Tonight I'm thinking about tomorrow, but right now we're going to enjoy this great pole position.
That yesterday post qualifying, and Nick, you saw it when he got out of the car. I mean, he dove into the arms of his crew members. The enthusiasm is just absolutely infectious, and it hasn't waned from the very first time he climbed into a race car.
Which is why Helio needs to get back to victory lane. It's been a couple years now, and I think we're all ready to see Helio Castroneves celebrate. Now, he was fired up yesterday, as you mentioned. You could hear it in his voice in that interview with Dave First. He was so excited to claim a 3rd straight pole position Verizon P1 award here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Going to be tough to hold off. A lot of fast cars behind him, but got the best view in the house as he's going to see that green flag first, Mark.
Just about a minute left in this session. We'll give you the starting lineup for today's race. Starting in row number 1, Helio Castroneves. He'll be joined on the front row by Scott Dixon. In row number 2, Ryan Hunter-Reay and James Hinchcliffe. Row number 3 features Alexander Rossi and Graham Rahal. Charlie Kimball and Joseph Newgarden make up row number 4. In row 5, Will Power, Marco Andretti. Will Power, despite 40-plus poles in his career, did not make the Firestone Fast 6. Row number 6, Tony Kanaan and Sebastian Bourdais. Row number 7 features Ed Jones and Carlos Munoz. Row number 8, J.R. Hildebrand and Mikel Alosian. Connor Daly and Takuma Sato in row number 9. Spencer Piggott, Max Chilton in row number 10. And rolling off 21st. Again, 6 times in 103 starts now. 20th or worse for Simon Pagenaud. One of those will be today as he'll roll off 21st, and Nick Yeoman, he's currently P1.
Yeah, if you're going to come from 21st, you better show some speed. And so far in this morning warm-up session with just 15 seconds left, it looks as if Simon Pagenaud is going to end this warm-up session with the fastest lap at a minute 6.650. That's a good lap for him. Sato, Rossi, Kanaan, Newgarden mark the rest of the top 5 as the checkered flag is out.
1.968 miles, 11 turns, 85 laps, 167 miles to be turned today. Join us for flag-to-flag coverage this afternoon. We'll take the air at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll be joined in the booth by our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton. Manning the pits today will be Dave First, Michael Young, and Zach Beach. In the turns, Jake Query and Nick Yeoman. Again, Simon Pagenaud, P1. The final warm-up. All that's left now is the 43rd running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. We hope you will join us. The director of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network is Wally Levitt. On-site engineering and production provided by Rick Evans. Zach Veach, Dave First, great job down to the pits. For Nick Yeoman in the broadcast booth, I'm Mark Jane. So long for now from the streets of Long Beach.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Sneva and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment. Lou Palmer is in victory lane as A.J. Foyt takes now his victory lap around the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis. A record-breaking end to a record-breaking month. A.J. Foyt, the 4th win at Indianapolis. A month that saw the 200-mile-an-hour barrier broken, not just in the practice where it is unofficial, but in the qualifying by Tom Sneva, our second-place car at the moment. And then, too, the first woman to enter, to qualify, and to compete in a 500-mile race, Janet Guthrie of New York City. But for the moment, the name is A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas. The car is his, a Coyote. The engine is his, a Foyt V8. And happiness, fame, and fortune are his too. He is the winner of the 61st running of the Indianapolis 500. Pat Sedan continues to display the checkered flag to the 11 other cars running on the race course at the moment. They hand him now the red flag. He will use that in just minutes to stop the race, bring the cars into the pits. The 500-mile race is complete. The checkered flag and the red flag are waved together. And the checkered flag was displayed first here for A.J. Foyt. He is now on the pit lane. The people are moving out to his car as he comes